Academy. Today we are going to talk about types of verbs. Actually, we are going to discuss two types of verbs, which are finite verbs and non-finite verbs. These are the two types of verbs that we are going to discuss today. Before that, let me talk about what is verb. Right. Verb is a word which denote action. That is what we know about verb. Right. But rather than that, there are some verbs which talks about state of being. For example, am, is, are, was, were, have, has. These are verbs which expresses state of action, right, or state of being. But verbs are generally called as action verbs, right? So today we are going to talk about finite and non-finite verbs. If you look at the first example, I like comics. In this sentence, like is a verb, right? So I like comics. This sentence over here, I is the subject, right? And second example is she likes comics. Over here, likes is a verb, right? So if you see, there is a slight change in the form of the verb like and likes, right? So as I change the subject from I to she, right? So then there is a change of form of the verb like, right? It's changed into likes, right? In the second example. These are the two examples which are in present tense, right? Both are in present tense, but what I did over here, I changed the subject, right? So as we are changing the subject, there is a change in the form of the verb. And if you look at the third sentence, they like comics, right? Over here, they liked. Liked is a verb. And as I change the tense over here, they liked comics. This sentence is in simple past tense, right? So as I change the tense, right, then there is also change in the form of the verb. And I agree that there is also a change in the uh, persona or a persona of the subject, right? So over here, as we are changing the tense, there is a change in the form of the verb. As we are changing the subject, there is a change in the form of verb. So such a kind of verbs which changes according to gender, number, person of the subject and tense of the sentence, right? So such a kind of verbs are called as finite verbs. Finite verbs are those verbs which changes their form according to the gender, or we'll say persona of the subject, right, or number of the subject, and according to tense also, right? According to tense, according to number, according to gender, according to person, if verbs get changed, such kind of verbs are known as finite verbs, right? Did you get my point? Right. Finite verbs are those verbs which changes their form according to number, gender, person of the subject and according to the tense. And the another type of verbs are non-finite verbs. So let's have a look at these three sentences. I like to read. Right. This sentence, I like to read. So in this sentence, like is a verb. Right. Second sentence, if you look at this second sentence, she likes to read. She likes to read over here also. Likes is a verb. That there is a change in the form of the verb. Like becomes likes, right? So as we change the subject. But if you see, the verb read is remaining the same. To read, actually to read, right? To read is remaining the same. Read, right? So that is also again the verb, but it remains changed. It does not change its form, right? In the third sentence also, I change the tense and there is no change in the form of the verb to read, right? So these kind of verbs which do not change their form according to the number, gender or person of the subject and according to the tense. So such a kind of verbs are called as non-finite verbs, right? So non-finite verbs are those verbs which do not change their form according to subject, according to person of the subject, according to gender of the subject and according to number of the subject and also according to tense of the sentence, right? So these verbs are known as non-finite verbs. Over here, to read is an infinitive, right? To read is an infinitive. So infinitives are the kinds of verbs, or we call them non-finite verbs, which do not change their form according to number, gender, or person of the subject, or according to tense, right? So to read is infinitive. The gender form of the infinitive is 2 plus b1, right? Is in the form of first form of the verb, right? So these are the two forms of verb, finite and non-finite verbs. Finite verbs changes their form according to number, according to gender, according to person of the subject, right? Most of the finite verbs are generally main verb in the sentence, and non-finite verbs are those verbs which do not change their forms according to number, gender, person of the subject, and according to tense also. So these are the two types of verbs that we are going to we discuss today. In the next video, we are going to talk about different types of non-finite verbs like infinitive, gerund, and participle. These are the three types of non-finite verbs that we will discuss in the next video. Thank you.